In the mid-2020s, the Middle East entered a phase of direct military strikes between Iran, Israel, and the United States. The region is currently teetering on the edge of open warfare. The global stakes of this confrontation are immediate. Nearly one-fifth of the world's daily oil supply travels through the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow choke point where any miscalculation risks a global economic crisis. The modern missile strikes and shipping attacks are the results of a historical grudge that has lasted for 70 years. The conflict operates on a 70-year action-reaction cycle. Every attack is viewed by the aggressor as direct retribution for a previous grievance. Stopping a potential global war today requires returning to the events of 1953. In the mid-20th century, Western powers relied on Iranian oil fields to fuel their economies and military operations. That control faced a direct challenge in 1951, when Iranian Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh nationalized the country's oil industry to end British control over Iranian resources. The West responded with Operation Ajax, a CIA-backed coup that overthrew Mossadegh and reinstated the Shah to power. This intervention left decades of anti-American resentment simmering in Iran. By 1979, that anger erupted into a revolution that toppled the Shah's government. Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini used the memory of the 1953 coup as a rallying cry to turn Iran into an anti-Western Islamic republic. Relations reached a permanent breaking point when Iranian students stormed the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, holding 52 Americans hostage for 444 days. The 1953 coup destroyed the possibility of trust. Where the West once had a democratic partner, it now faced a fiercely ideological enemy. With formal diplomacy severed, the two nations shifted to a strategy of indirect confrontation that defined the late 20th century. The United States used economic containment, leveraging financial sanctions and naval dominance to isolate Tehran. Iran countered by funding and arming foreign militia groups to project power beyond its borders. This network eventually expanded through Lebanon, Iraq, Syria, and Yemen, establishing a ring of influence around American regional allies. This proxy framework allowed both nations to inflict damage on each other without triggering a formal declaration of war. The shadow war escalated over Western fears that Iran was moving toward nuclear weapons capabilities. In 2015, the JCPOA agreement briefly paused the escalation, trading nuclear limits for the relief of economic sanctions. The United States withdrew from the agreement in 2018, which immediately reignited the cycle of retaliation. Inside Iran, the return of financial pressure led to economic unrest, propaganda campaigns, and harsh domestic crackdowns. The collapse of the nuclear deal eliminated the final diplomatic off-ramp, shifting the conflict back toward direct military confrontation in the 2020s. The United States maintains its military posture to protect global shipping lanes, shield its allies, and prevent nuclear proliferation. Iran views its own aggression as a defensive necessity to protect its sovereignty against decades of foreign intervention. Millions of civilians remain trapped in the crossfire of these competing visions, enduring the fallout of proxy battles and economic devastation. A conflict rooted in 70 years of unhealed wounds and revenge cannot be solved through military dominance alone. This 70-year chain reaction now threatens to trigger a devastating global conflict that may become impossible to contain.